Hey guys, thanks for coming back and watching. This is Bob with Buttered Popcorn Reviews. Today I want to talk about the new film Torment. This is the Blu-ray release from Unearthed Films. This is the first movie in their Too Extreme for Mainstream series. So this movie, Torment, and this is actually the cover art of the DVD. I switched it. The art for the Blu-ray is total trash, but my buddy Martin Trafford did from Trafford did the cover for the DVD, so I just printed it off and put it on here because it's way more awesome. This art is pretty sick. The original art is, I just folded it and put it underneath. It's generic. It's a clown. But anyway, the point. So this movie, according to this, says it's based on the John Wayne Gacy murders. A young man wakes up after a one-night stand and finds himself in the clutches of one of the most notorious serial killers to ever stalk the earth. So, sort of. Sure. So this movie is, I guess it's actually a couple years old. I think it's from 2017, but it's just getting released here. This is the first time, I think it's the first time it's ever been released in the U.S., but this is an Italian film. Not that that matters, because there's exactly 2 lines of dialogue in the whole film, because this movie, it's based on John Wayne Gacy, as loosely based as you could ever really base something on. The serial killer in this movie preys on young men, and he dresses as a clown. That's about as close as you're going to get to the John Wayne Gacy kind of comparisons here. But so what this movie is exactly that. A guy wakes up, in bed, sitting next to what you find out is John Wayne Gacy, and he's kind of a snoop. He's going through the house, looking around. He finds some drugs, trying to pocket it, and stupidly, instead of sneaking out, he hears a noise in another room, and he finds the key, unlocks it, and he sees another guy tied up in there, naked. He's been there for however long, tortured and beaten, and then of course right at that moment Gacy wakes up and comes in and attacks this guy. So the movie kind of is 75, I mean, this is a short movie. I feel like it was 75 minutes or so, 75 minutes. And it's 75 minutes of kind of plotless torture and gore and graphic violence. Again, if they didn't tell you that this movie was about John Wayne Gacy, you'd probably think, oh, a gay guy who dresses as a clown. You probably think Gacy, but this movie tells no story and nothing to do with John Wayne Gacy really at all. The premise of the film really is just following kind of maybe a 24-hour period, if that, a whole night of John killing these two guys or torturing them and stuff. So Unearthed Films, who put this out as part of their Too Extreme for Mainstream series, also own the rights to the Japanese guinea pig films and to the name American Guinea Pig. And if this movie had just been called American Guinea Pig Torment, that would have been very fitting. This movie is kind of just a gore for gore's sake film. It's above and beyond graphic, but at the same time, it's not really. A lot of it's kind of cheesy, but some of it's kind of cool. So the plot, the drive of this film is really just the different levels of gore and things that happened, and this sexual depravity. So this 75 minutes, I'd say that there's maybe 2 minutes of the movie that does not contain graphic male nudity. The whole film is just naked men. There's tons of rape. There's tons of graphic. There's a decapitation. There's sodomy. It's really above and beyond. So if you are not the kind of person who's going to want to watch a movie like that, this would not be the film for you. Which is exactly why they branded it as part of their, Too Extreme for Mainstream, because it really would be. This movie is not going to be getting a Netflix deal anytime soon. It's not that kind of a movie. It's something that the kind of people who are going to want to watch it will seek it out and find it, and maybe they'll enjoy it, maybe not. I am not a gore for gore's sake kind of person. Like I said, this would have been a really good American Guinea Pig title, and of the American Guinea Pig films, they all have different their different styles. This one would fall very much, if you've watched those other movies, this would fall more in line with a very graphic like Bouquet of Guts and Gore, which is very less plot driven and more gore and effects driven. That's very much what this is. But this is quite a bit further, because I think that the difference would be that while something like that is graphic in its own right, it's really just gore. That Bouquet of Guts and Gore is a lot of hacking up of a body, and honestly, once you start getting into that, it's just like, okay, yeah, we're just cutting off another limb. Torment goes in a different direction, because it is trying to tell a story sort of about John Wayne Gacy, like I said, as loose as possible. It does go, it does kind of follow what John Wayne Gacy had 33 victims, I think, were confirmed with John Wayne Gacy, all young men, mid-teens to early 20s. So we do get that in here. I mean, that's what it is. It's the torture of two young men, and it's extremely graphic. But some of the filmmaking techniques I've never seen before. Some of it, and it's very basic, but it was cool. I say that from a totally kind of twisted standpoint, but there is a scene, for example, where a guy is being sodomized with a glass bottle, and there's a shot from inside of his body as a glass bottle is penetrating him, or there's a finger, and it's this, and it's shot from inside, and that's kind of messed up, but it was cool. I mean, from an effects standpoint, that's the kind of thing I like. That's original. It isn't just another, just kind of generic effects. I'm sure there's another movie out there that's probably done something similar, but I'd never seen it. And so when I was watching this movie, I was like, all right, that's messed up, but that's pretty cool too. I mean, from an effects standpoint. And there's some special features on this disc that have a little bit of behind the scenes look at the film, and they actually show on there, how it was really just like a piece of probably some sort of latex, and they wrapped it around, and it looks good for the film. But so, speaking of looking good for the film, that's probably my biggest problem with this movie, with this release, was how bad the quality of the presentation was. There is so much, as you can imagine, from a movie like this, where we're just in basically one single house, and for a lot of it, one kind of single room. It's dark and dreary, and it's a lot of dark tones and blue tones. And anytime somebody moves fast, there is just a ton of ghosting and artifacting, and it's real. There's points in this movie where there's like a scuffle, for example, towards the end of the movie. Between two guys, and there's so much blurry ghosting and artifacting in the picture, in the quality, that it's hard to see what's going on. It's just a really poor, I don't know what the budget for this movie was, but in my opinion, this was just a pretty poor transfer. I would have to guess that the quality was there originally, maybe not. I don't know how they shot this. It looks polished. It looks, it's not shot on video or anything like that, but from a technical standpoint, as far as the Blu-ray is concerned, I'm glad that I didn't pay 30 or 35 bucks for this. Somebody else picked this up, hated it, and I got it in a trade. So I'll be happy to add this into the collection now that I've added real cover art to it that isn't garbage. But I can't see myself probably watching it again, except for maybe with somebody who's never seen it, who would like this sort of thing, or for like a shocking kind of value, where you could be like, all right, let's just show somebody a messed up movie. But I've seen people compare the the film, not the quality of the production, but I've seen people compare the quality of the film, the content, I should say, really. I've seen people compare the content of this movie to something like a Serbian film. A Serbian film is one of my all-time favorite movies. I don't see any comparison between these two at all, except that, yeah, here's two movies that have really intense graphic content, but the content isn't the same. The story, there's no story really so much to speak in this. It's, like I said, it's just kind of a rape and torture fantasy film. There's no dialogue, which is probably wise for international markets. Selling this movie over here as a horror movie that nobody has to read any subtitles, because Americans just, God forbid we read anything, right? So that worked out well, I'm sure. But it's not a Serbian film. It doesn't have the quality. It will not have the staying power. It won't top every single list of most messed up movies of all time, stuff like that. It was a good one-time watch. I enjoyed it for what it was. I watched it with my wife. She enjoyed it for what it was too. It just really is one of those films where it isn't anything that, if I had seen this out somewhere cheap, for example, even with the crappy cover art that's on here, and I'll show you, I mean, it's just a generic, it's just a clown. Like, okay, whatever. If I saw it out somewhere for cheap, used or whatever, yeah, I probably would have grabbed it, but it's a movie that if you don't know what it is that you're getting into, you'd probably hate it. If you know exactly what it is that you're going into, which I did, you might get something out of it. I really enjoyed the effects. I really thought that the set pieces were great, but overall, I would never watch. I really don't see myself ever watching it again. I think it's a one-time watch. I think it was graphic and cool for what it was, and that's really about it. With the production on the Blu-ray being pretty poor, I'm really disappointed in that aspect of it. But again, I didn't buy it. I traded for it for something, so didn't work out too bad for me. But no, I would say overall, Torment. If you are looking for something that is a graphic, heavy film, go ahead and give it a shot. If you know that that's not for you, I would give it a pass for sure. I will say that you can still get these right now. I believe that you can still buy them right from Unearthed Films. They have it on DVD. They have it on Blu-ray. They do come with a poster. I think that they still come with the poster. The poster art is this one or the other. I think what they did was if you get the DVD, you get the poster art that's on the Blu-ray, and if you buy the Blu-ray, you get this poster art, something like that. I don't know. I love this artwork. This artwork is a selling point for this movie. This artwork is just so friggin' cool that they should have used this in every promotion, and I don't know why they didn't, but hey, that's not me. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on Torment. Like I said, you can pick it up on Unearthed Films if you would like to. It's the first release in their Too Extreme for Mainstream series, so I'm sure that they'll be having more. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about Torment. If you want to pick it up, I'll put the link down below. And again, don't forget to check us out at www.butter-popcorn.com. And you can also follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/officialbutteredpopcorn. Thanks for watching, and we will see you again next time.